Hey, what's up everybody? Lawler here with more Rocket League news. This time we've got European Power Rankings for Week 4 underway. But before I can get into the headache that is the Power Rankings for Europe, as always, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, as well as making sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, shout out if you guys have been enjoying the new edits. I've been testing out some new editors. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hey, welcome back everybody to some more Power Rankings. Gonna preface this before I get into any of this, a couple things. Number one, shout out to all the boys from Top Blokes as well as Relating Wave. They were in my stream pretty much all day shooting the bleep. I don't know if I can swear. Maybe bleep that one out, Mr. Editor Man. But yeah, they came into chat. We're talking, throwing bleep at each other, having a good time, and it was a blast. I made the European Power Rankings really fun, despite how stressful it is. Like, I'm okay with like the top three. The top three, I'm like, all right, these guys are pretty good. I got this. But legitimately trying to get through like 4 through 7, and then the bottom 3 was like, how am I realistically supposed to do this? I literally took a 1d4 and gave people even odd, rolled some dice and figured it out. But the cool thing is, Relating Wave, Archie, Cassio, Rams, their coach, and Flame were all in chat, talking, hanging out, and providing their insight about how they felt about certain things, whether it be about their own team or otherwise. So this is just as much as their list as it is mine. So shout out to those boys. We had a ton of fun, and we even made a meme out of it. Yeah, I ended up making this meme for them. Please someone sign them. They're a really good team. So yeah, shout outs to those boys. We had a lot of fun. Super good time. Alrighty guys, let's kick it off. At number 10 is going to be Fadeaway. So this is a team, and I'm going to preface this as well before I get into all these teams and all these rosters. Again, as always, all the teams that you find in this area will be in consideration. There is multiple teams that are in the 10-9 area that go down to like 13-14 that all can be in consideration that have been booted out. The big two that I wanted to pay attention to is Fadeaway and Magnifico, due to not being able to perform or fight in the grid. They are a top 32 team qualifier team only, and we finally got that. We got to see a little bit more of Fadeaway. We got to see a bit of Magnifico. Unfortunately, Magnifico didn't have the greatest of results recently. Their first regional, they did very well, but Fadeaway has shown consistency in multiple areas. But Magnifico and Fadeaway, if you compare the two, obviously Magnifico and Fadeaway both make top 16. As a little bit of a spoiler, if you guys haven't seen the recap video yesterday, go check that out. But Fadeaway has done it convincingly in the most recent circumstance. Obviously, a little bit of recency bias in a week-to-week power ranking. And in this circumstance, Fadeaway just does better. They go 3-0, clean sweep. They end up beating Dignitas, Top Blokes, and Endpoint, teams that I all consider very competitive. Obviously, Dignitas has been struggling a little bit due to possibly tendinitis for Violent Panda, and try to figure out Yuri's. It's a whole different conversation. But then you look at Magnifico, and they lose to Barcelona and Monkeys. So strength of schedule, Fadeaway wins against very notable rosters and look convincing doing it. So Fadeaway breaking into the top 10, big congrats to them. Massive shoutouts actually to Tigre. I think Tigre had a really solid performance in these matches and gets an odd. Aslan still dropping shots like crazy. Also, I spelt his name wrong and called him Asalion, and I kind of want it. Then you'd have Tigre and Asalion, and then Freaky. I forget who typed a terrible pun, but they called him Furky, or like Furreaky, like fur on a you get it. But yeah, and then Rams is like, this is stupid. So we moved on. But yeah, it was fun. If you guys didn't go watch that stream, twitch.tv/Lawler, go check it out. The VOD's great. We'd love to have you guys in chat. Either way, Fadeaway breaking into top 10, really good performances in the most recent regional. So shout outs to them. Jumping up to number 9 is going to be FC Barcelona, another team out of 10. They originally, I had them up high because they had good notable results at the beginning in their regional, and then they end up dropping down. And we didn't really see them for a couple weeks. And then in the past week and a half, they've been performing really well. And again, I was like, is it just because there's no pressure on the grid? What's going on? And Barcelona ends up showing up in regionals as well. So in the most recent grid, Barcelona does end up qualifying and making it into the quarterfinals until they ultimately lose to Giants. But in regionals, they end up going 3-1 with their only loss coming to BDS. They take wins over Magnifico. So Magnifico, this is part of the reason why I have Barcelona moving up. And then they also beat Oxygen. They also beat Barrage as well, another team that was looking pretty solid. So again, I think Barcelona doing a really good job. They are beating teams that also find themselves in the top 8, other than obviously Oxygen. So again, Barcelona I think is a very solid team, doing quite well, transitioning in the right direction. This one seems to be weird because I haven't been able to watch much of the Barcelona games. So for them to just be winning all of a sudden, something had to happen. I'm going to have to go take a look maybe tomorrow on stream to see what Barcelona's doing to get those victories. But can't deny their results. That's why I got them at 9. Honestly, Fadeaway could possibly be above Barcelona if I'm being honest with myself. But Barcelona has multiple results. It's not just a one-day thing. So this is going to change. It's going to entirely depend on how regionals goes next week and how those results kind of play out. But that can be said about anything, as obviously it's a week-to-week power ranking. Number 8 is going to be Team Liquid. 10th last week, moving up 2 spots. Finally hitting their mark. I mean, in regionals, you're talking, they end up doing actually pretty dang well. They were in Group B. They've got wins over Singularity, Solary, 2.5 Baguettes, and then ended up losing. Their only loss coming from Vitality. So I think that's pretty notable for them. They also make top 8 in the grid also in week 4. They end up ultimately losing in that match to Endpoint. They end up getting swept. But you're talking the games, Endpoint does have a 1-game advantage. Game 1 is OT, and then the other 2 games are 2-0. So they did get shut out. But to qualify, they did have wins losing to BDS. They went to 5, beat Dignitas, and beat Solary. So Solar, I think, is a team that has been performing relatively well. And for Liquid to get those kind of notable wins does make a difference here. So shoutouts to Liquid. Starting to trend in the right direction. Still some things I want to see them clean up. But still not considered 10th. I think it's the number one thing. They are progressing forward, which is something they should be happy about. At number 7 is going to be Oxygen, taking a big hit this week. We're 4th, dropping down to 3rd. And the biggest one here is they still have wins against Grid. And we had a lot of conversation, and this is where things got really difficult, was the 4-7 area. Oxygen was a team that myself and all the guys from Top Blokes, as well as Relating Wave, talked about. And I asked them, I'm like, ultimately, if you put Oxygen in a situation, are you still fearful of that team? Are you still going to take them into account? Like, this is a team that could win it all. And they're like, yeah, without a doubt. The difficulty is that they, for some reason, struggle in regionals. That's now 2 regionals they have yet to make in top 16 and bring themselves to stage 2. I forget who it was, but they joked about it. And they're like, honestly, if you put Oxygen in top 16, they have a chance to win the whole thing. If you get them past that first initial thing, whatever the reason, they just can't seem to beat the rival series or the lower bubble teams. Something about them just causes them to lose. So I think this is a pure case of Oxygen playing down to their competition. I don't know what that reason is, but they got to find a way to get those wins. When there's less pressure in the grid, they look great. I mean, you're talking in week 4, they again go to the semifinals. So Oxygen clearly is capable of dominating, but there's something about the mental game that is causing them to have difficulties here. So I hope Oxygen works on their mentality and whatever is going on with that. It's still a very talented team. That's why I have them still in the top 10, but I cannot put them above these other rosters based upon performances, and regionals taking a big hit. I got to weigh it heavy. At number 6 is going to be Solary, a team that was 7th moving up. This one is partially because of the results. They do end up going 3-1. One of those games doesn't technically count because they got a free win over Yerma, but they do end up winning against Nordavind and Endpoint and losing to Liquid. So still 3-1, only loss coming to Liquid. Who knows what would happen if they didn't play Yerma in the first round and if they got a tougher opponent. But ultimately, Solary doing well there. And recently they do end up losing to Liquid again in group stages for the grid with a win over Libertas. They lost to Giants and then lost to Liquid. This one was a lot of help based upon the results and what Top Blokes and the guys had to say as well. At number 5 is going to be Endpoint. This one, I think, was the guys trying to be a little bit modest, but Relating Wave brought a lot of insight into this one about their performances lately. They do make top 8 in the grid in week 4 here, where they end up beating Liquid as well in the playoffs, so that's why obviously notes above Liquid. But they do ultimately end up losing to Top Blokes, who go on to win the whole thing. So strength of schedule, ultimately you got to find a way to win those matches. Endpoint, a team that has shown that they can do it all, but just aren't able to close it out here. You then jump over to them in regionals, and for Endpoint, they were a team that struggled to get in. This was kind of the deciding factor for me of why I put them a little bit lower, even though they've been doing some really good things. Top Blokes and other teams are showing that they can be better than them. They also gave us kind of a heart attack where they end up going 2-0. They end up winning their first 2 matches. They lose to Fadeaway, they lose to Solary, and then end up beating Singularity 3-0 in the last result. So avoiding the reverse sweep in series, I think, is a really big deal, and it shows a lot of kudos in their mentality and the ability to stick with it until the end, but also shows that they have some faults. So I think Endpoint's a good standard still. I do bump them up because the results are there, up one spot, but again, they're still losing some of the notable ones, and they're not as convincing as I would like them to be to put them in top 4. At number 4 for Europe is going to be Top Blokes, and this one kind of makes sense. In a recent video, I had titled, I highly underrated this team. Top Blokes is moving up 5 spots. Consistent results is one of it, also winning the grid. They do scare me a little bit. In regionals, in round 1, the games that are off stream, they end up winning. Then they end up playing fadeaway, which they end up getting swept. They then beat Singularity, and then they lose again. And then last minute, they end up beating Singularity 3-0. So Top Blokes has had some less than, I guess, confident results, in my opinion, but they still show they're a really good team. I think the number one thing about why Top Blokes I'm able to move them up, my concerns were with Archie. Is Archie going to be able to pop off every time? Is he going to get enough help? I put emphasis in the sense of Cassio or Flame needs to step up. And with all the guys discussing it, all of us talking about it, Cassio played really freaking well in regionals, as well as the grid. Part of the reason why Top Blokes looked and performed as well as they did is because Cassio had a very stellar performance. Obviously, Archie continues to be put forward, and some insight from Flame as well is Flame originally is a striker, and he wants to be up front in the face, but he understands the ability to enable these young guns and this new playstyle coming from the Archies and stuff, and just kind of takes that step back, that role that is more of the grunt work. So I do like what Flame is doing for the team and what he's doing to enable his teammates. But eventually Top Blokes, I think, is going to be a team that can become a 3-headed monster, especially if they unleash everybody. But that just doesn't seem to be their playstyle right now. They are adjusting from the Veloce style, which is very passive, very defensive, and then maybe win the midfield and start to move up. This is a different Top Blokes, and I'm really enjoying it. Again, check out the memes if you guys haven't seen it. The one that I talked about earlier, I don't know if you did. Archie ended up tweeting it. Go check them out. Someone go pick up this team. They definitely deserve an organization. They're very talented, and I don't think they're going anywhere soon. At number 3, pretty confident about the top 3 here. Number 3 is going to be Giants. They are dropping down one spot. I talked about last week how I think BDS is the better team, but Giants has the results. It actually kind of remains the same right now. Giants ends up going to the semifinals, while BDS ends up losing to Oxygen. You then have in the regionals where BDS and Giants are in the exact same pool in Group A. They both go 3-0. They both go 9-2 with a +7 game differential. Arguments could say that BDS had the harder schedule, having to play Barcelona, hot-looking Barcelona, and Monkeys, while Giants' only tough roster was probably Guild. So with this one, I think BDS recently had the tougher matches. Regional is going to tell us a lot this week, but I do think BDS is the better team, and that's why I'm bumping them up. I said it last week. I do agree with it. Congrats to BDS. You're going to be number 2, jumping the gun here a little bit. I really like this team. You guys know I'm keen on them. I've been talking it for a long time. People think I underrate them heavily on Reddit, but I really like this team. I've been talking about them ever since they promoted in. This is kind of my team in Europe. If I'm going to root for one team, it's definitely BDS. And try not to show too much bias. I didn't think I was going to have bias. I just really like the way they approach the game. And despite being new kids, and maybe it's just that underdog story of someone trying to dethrone the top in Vitality, BDS is a team I think that can really do it all. My concerns, though, for BDS and Giants Gaming, when LAN events eventually do come back, whenever that'll be, is the inexperience going to be a problem? That's what I'm curious to see, who handles it better. And right now I think BDS is built for that. Either way, that's a long time down the road. Current results, recent results, BDS. This is one that comes down to the gut. I do believe it's BDS. I think they're the better team. I also rolled a 1d4 on this one, and the odd number of 3 ended up going to BDS. So here you go. And last but not least, obviously, Vitality. Vitality is still the best team. They just don't seem to falter. They do only get, this is similar to, I guess, Space Station, like I said in my last video, where they get to quarterfinals. Apparently that's a bad week for them, where Vitality only gets to quarterfinals, top 8 out of 16. They do end up losing to the winners in Top Blokes. So I think Top Blokes obviously going on to win the whole thing. You got to take a little bit of note of that. And then you look at regional results. Vitality 3-0, 9-4, +5 game differential. They end up coming out a little bit slow against Game Up, where they go 3-2. They beat 2 baguettes and a half, which a lot of teams actually struggled with. And then they 3-2 Liquid. So again, that only benefits, I think, Liquid in their performances lately. But Vitality still has one off day. This next week is going to be telling whether you can move BDS or Giants up more or Vitality drops down. But again, knowing Vitality, they'll lose early on in the tournament and then bounce back, make a lower bracket run, and win the whole freaking thing again. So who knows with Vitality, man. They're still really good. But Giants and BDS definitely starting to push in to that #1 spot. We'll see how it goes. We got one more week left. As always, appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in the videos. Love to hear your thoughts as well as see what your guys' lists are. Drop those down in the comments below, and we'll make sure to take a look at those on stream possibly later. And as always, if you guys enjoy the content, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, check out the social medias down in the description, all that fun stuff, and we will catch you next time. Peace.